Hey, it's Lowery Smith of the Commander Smiths here with Searching for the Spotlight, Niv-Mizzet Visionary. New one out in Foundations. Uh, I got about 100 cards here. Need to cut 40 of them roughly. Try and get some land in here to the chagrin of some people from the Discord. What is the Commander Smiths? We are a weekly podcast, normally on Monday. It is Christmas time, so we get a little bit, and we get a little bit, whatever, in the summer as well. But you can listen to us weekly. We put out audio on Wednesdays, but always on YouTube once a week, basically. So any fun hijinks that we're doing, you can check it out. Right now, we're doing one drop tournament, and we do a game called Stump the Smith Savant, where Adam reads me a flavor text, and I get it wrong eventually, and then somebody wins some cards. So yeah, we do kind of a lot of stuff on YouTube here. So subscribe, like what's going on. If you're not looking at this live, let me see if I can turn this up a little bit. Blinding. Um, if you're not watching this live, you can watch this in like 1.5, 2 times speed. Save yourself some time. Get to see some cool cards. Niv-Mizzet Visionary. What is it? It's 4 mana, blue and a red, 5/5 flying dragon wizard. You have no maximum hand size, and whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, you draw that many cards. That can be a lot of cards to be drawn. Um, and I think a lot of people there's enough support for like whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, deal a damage or two, and there's a lot of those kind of chances for like creatures. The problem is that for me is that Adam built that deck a few years ago with Niv-Mizzet the Perun, and I want to do something different. So I don't have, it's not going to be spell slingy heavy. It's not going to have those creatures that are dealing damage. This is much more of a upkeep, or whenever somebody does X, Y, and Z, they take damage. That will include myself for what we're doing. But yeah, that's I think the route that it goes. What I do here is I'll go through all the cards, try and kind of cut as I'm going along, but you'll get to see what I'm working with. You can also go to Moxfield, follow the Commander Smiths, and you can find what I got going on right now, or just the deck list if it's later on and in the future. So, um, is that where we're at? I'm just going to go through the deck. Right now it's through CMC order, and then afterwards I'm going to break it up into what they're doing. Hopefully the camera's not too close. I'll take a drink of water every once in a while from my trusty mug that you could order online if you so wish. They're like real Yeti mugs. So not a lot of people have bought them, but we gave them to our buddies that helped us record last week, and they're like, "Holy shit, this is like a real thing." So maybe we didn't stress that enough. It's a Yeti, it's a Yeti mug or a muggy Yeti. Yeah. So that's where we're at. So they've measured it. Visionary dealing damage off of, or drawing cards off of damage being drawn. This is going to be in CMC order. Check it out. Keep that lid on tight. Thank you, Red Squirrel. I appreciate it. Um, I have made sure I got back with when I was building Riku of many paths. I spilled a whole lot of water on all the cards, and it was depressing for a bit. But thanks for coming out, Red Squirrel. All right. First one is a deep cut here. It is Mind Bomb, 1 mana sorcery. It deals 3 damage to each player. Each player may choose and discard up to 3 cards to prevent that amount of damage to him or her from Mind Bomb. So it's dealing 3 damage to everybody, including myself. And if you want to prevent 1 damage, you can discard a card. And so it's either everybody takes 3 and you're drawing 9 cards when Niv-Mizzet's out. And there's a bit of a discard theme on here, so maybe I want to discard cards. If I don't want to take the damage, I probably have enough cards in my hand from Niv-Mizzet Visionary. It seems like a cool card to be playing in this deck. Sigil of Sleep. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage to a player, any type of damage, return target creature or player or that player controls to its owner's hand. So if you have something that deals 1 damage to all opponents, they, all are returning a creature to their hand. This can get really oppressive in a deck like Nekusar. I'm thinking it won't be as oppressive in this kind of deck. This is a kind of card that I try and not avoid because it takes over and it can be really mean. Curiosity, same idea. Whenever enchanted creature deals damage to an opponent, you draw a card. So if you have something that deals 1 damage to each opponent, you're going to be drawing 3 cards. Non-combat, combat, all that stuff works. So Curiosity is a cool one in here. Library of Lang, 1 mana, unlimited. But it's an artifact, and then basically, if you discard a card for any reason, you can discard it to the top of your library. Also, I believe if it's a random discard, you get to choose, but that part is less and less relevant as the game goes on. So this can be pretty fun, I think. Bolt Bend. This spell costs 3 less to cast if you have a creature with power 4 or greater. Niv-Mizzet is 5. So for 1 red, you can change the target of target spell or ability with a single target. One thing that we don't like doing is really playing with a lot of counter spells. I believe I already cut a lot of the free counter spells, which would be really good in Niv-Mizzet since you have a fat hand. So this will be some sort of protection in there. So it's just changing any single targeted removal. There we go. Misdirection, same thing, but you got to exile a blue card from your hand to swing a spell some way. A deflecting swat, it's a free swinging a spell some way. Ivory Tower, at the beginning of your upkeep, you gain X life, where X is the number of cards in your hand minus 4. Probably going to have a lot of cards in your hand as long as Niv-Mizzet Visionary is in play. Otherwise, you're going to gain a lot of life with this, I think. Dusk Corona. That's an aura. Enchanted creature gets +2/+0 and can't be blocked by creatures with flying. Any red flying legend that I have, I try and fit this in there because it's not played a lot, but it gives a flying red creature or red commander unblockable, if that makes sense. So can't be blocked by creatures with flying, and a creature with flying can't be blocked without by creatures that don't have flying. So you need something with like reach to block it. And that's whatever it is. So Dusk Corona is a cool card. Molten Vortex, getting a little bit of what's going on with the deck, but discard a land card. Molten Vortex deals 2 damage to target creature or player. And so basically, if I can pay a red, discard a land card, deal damage to somebody, a Visionary is going to draw me 2 cards, and I can potentially do that for as much red mana as I have going on. So a little bit, I like it. And that's kind of what the deck is trying to do. Firestorm. Probably this is a guaranteed in there, but 1 red instant, choose and discard X cards. Firestorm deals X damage in each of X target creatures and or players. Basically, if you discard 20 cards, you have 20 targets and they're taking 20 damage apiece. If you have 40 cards in your hand, you can do that. But this is probably a huge game winner. It's going to wipe the board. It's going to do a lot of work in here. Sensei's top just for that control. You probably don't even need it, honestly, but it's nice at the beginning. Brainstorm, best draw spell out there. Wizard class, 1 blue, you have no hand size. Pay 3, draw 2 cards. Pay 5, whenever you draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. All of this is good. You're going to be drawing a lot of cards in here. So 1/1 counters on a creature, it'll go big. Magmatic Insight, 1 red sorcery, an additional cost, discard a land card to draw 2 cards. Again, the discarding thing I'm not too worried about. It's kind of what I want, even though it's has blue in it. Faithless Looting, draw 2, discard 2 with a flashback. Careful Study, draw 2, discard 2. Currency Converter, you're discarding cards. So whenever you discard a land card or any card, you can put it under Currency Converter, and then you can tap, put a card exiled with it into your graveyard. If it's a land, you get a treasure. If not, you get a 2/2 rogue. More than likely, this is just going to be ramp for you when you're discarding cards. So I'll ring for that ramp, baby. Wayfarer's Bauble to go get a land, baby. Spellskite for that protection. Probably one of the best protection spells in the game. Needs to be played a shit ton more if you're in a targeted removal or aura decks or whatever. But change the target spell or ability to spell Spellskite, not Spellskitter. So, but We do play proxies. If you got them, use the proxies. We also don't use counter spells. We don't do combo. And there's probably something else that we don't do. I just don't do it enough to even remember that I don't do it. Swiftfoot boots for that protection. Lightning greaves for that protection. Imperial plate. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand. So if you got a bad hand, which this likely will have pretty quick, it should be decent for you. Ominous Seas. Whenever you draw a card, put a counter on it. You can remove 8 counters from it to get an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token. Again, drawing a lot of cards, find those bonuses. This is a German card. I'm going to have to remember it decently. So basically, what it is 1 and a blue for an enchantment. When it ETBs, you get to draw a card and discard a card. And then at beginning of combat, you get to put a 1/1 counter on a creature for as many cards as you've drawn beyond the first one this turn. So when this comes into play, one creature gets at least +1/+1 if you haven't drawn more cards. Visionary is going to have a lot of card drawing going on, plus the counters and stuff like that. I did have a sub theme of counters, but I think that's kind of gone, but it's still pretty much on theme. Getting into some of the damage aspects, Scalding Viper. The bounce is nice, but whenever an opponent casts a spell with mana 3 or less, it deals 1 damage to that player. So that's what I'm kind of going for is whenever a player does this or has this, I want that damage to happen. Price of Progress. Like I said, so this is 2 damage to the player for each non basic land that they control. So it hit me big time. But I think I'm going to try and avoid the spells, instants and sorceries. So I'm gonna cut that right now, even though I do have a attack the land theme, but I'm gonna try and get rid of that. There is that discard theme. So each player draws a card and then discards a card with the lore broker. Not a bad thing. Ankh of Mishra. Each time a land comes into play, it deals 2 damage to that owner. So a fetch land will deal 4 damage. It does hit you, but I like that card a lot. Let's go with, and then Zozu the Punisher is kind of the equal part of that. Let's get to the 2s. Zoop. All right, Eidolon of the Great Revel. Whenever a player casts a spell with mana value 3 or less, it deals 2 damage to that player. So you're going to draw 2 cards. Or either way, this is just kind of like a deck that should whittle away everybody's life. And then later on in the game, you're going to be drawing a ton of cards and hopefully be able to close it out. So, and if people keep on killing Visionary, you're still going to be able to deal a lot of damage with the deck. So, I like Eidolon of the Great Revel. Pyrostatic Pillars, the same thing, just an enchantment form. Artist Talent, which has been an amazing card, but it is 1 in a red for one of the classes. And then whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you discard a card, then draw a card, pay 3. Additionally, non-creature spells cost 1 less to cast. And then 3, if a source you control deal non-combat damage, you get to add 2 more to that damage. So that's perfect in this deck. Ivora, Insatiable Hair. 1 in a red, 1/1 trample. Whenever you discard a card, put a 1/1 counter on it. Whenever it ETBs or attacks, you get to create a blood token. This is a discard deck. You're going to put a lot of 1/1 counters on this card. The question ends up being is that enough? And I don't think so in this deck because it's more, there's no damage being happening. You do have a lot of stuff going on with the discarding, but I think we gotta cut it. Duelist of the Mind. I love this card. But Flying Vigilance, power and toughness, or power equals the amount of cards you've drawn this turn. Should be drawing some cards. And then whenever you commit a crime, you get to draw a card, discard a card. That part isn't going to happen as much, but you can get pretty big, maybe, hopefully. Merfolk Looter, tap to draw a card, discard a card. Thought Courier, tap to draw a card, discard a card. Kitsa, Otter Ball Elite, 1/3 Vigilance, Prowess, tap to draw a card, discard a card, and also has a chance for copying spells, even though that's not going to be huge. It's just here for the draw a card, discard a card. Runaway Steamkin. Whenever you cast a red spell, put a 1/1 counter on it, and then you can remove 3 1/1 counters to add 3 red. And this just allows you to kind of ramp out in a non-green deck. Pretty nice. Ruby Medallion. This deck is heavily red, so reducing those red spells by 1 is going to be nice. Planar Atlas. I like this in my 2-color non-green decks. But 2 mana, ETB's tapped, and then you get to look at the top 4 cards to put a land into your hand. It also taps for a colorless. So doing a lot there. Izzet Signet for that ramp, Talisman of Creativity for that ramp, Arcane Signet for that ramp, and Thought Vessel just to have a lot of cards in your hand. Now that I'm thinking about it, if I have Niv-Mizzet Visionary in play, I don't like this, and if I don't have it in play, I'm probably not going to have so many cards. Now, if somebody kills Visionary, I would much rather have probably a Reliquary Tower in here. So let's cut Thought Vessel for now, but that's kind of where I'm at. Is I think Visionary is just going to be one of those game enders, drawing a ton of cards and just gaining a ton of value. Probably what it is. Iron Craig Pyromancer in the 3 spot. 04, whenever you draw your second card each turn, Iron Craig deals 3 damage to any target. So you can draw another 3 cards, or you know, more than likely going to be dealing damage all the time. So, Scrawling Crawler. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player draws a card. Whenever an opponent draws a card, they lose 1 life. Does not count for damage, so you will not draw more cards off of Scrawling Crawler. But it's kind of another way. It's kind of going back and forth on what I want to have happen, because it's not damage, and I kind of don't care about my opponent's drawing. I don't know if I really want them drawing more cards. And I do have that Nemesis one from the scaring set, horror movie set. Was that whenever an opponent draws a card, they take a damage, then you get to draw a card? I think that was in 2 mana. I didn't see it. I must not have put it in here. So I think I'm taking this out. I just got this from Card Sphere, so I like, oh yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, I can cut that. As we're going, Words of War, enchantment, pay 1. The next time you draw a card, you get to deal 2 damage instead, which allows you to deal 2 damage to any creature or player. So if it's a player, you get to draw 2 cards, 2 more cards. You can pay 1 and 1 to not draw cards to deal 4 damage, and kind of can escalate there. I think it's pretty cool. And then we have Auntie Blight, Bad Influence. Whenever a source you control deals damage to you, put that many 1/1 counters on it. A lot of this stuff is dealing damage to you, so Auntie Blight can get pretty big. Also can remove those counters for damaging any target, which potentially is having you draw more cards. So not a bad deal. Seismic Assault. This one seems like it's going to be pretty dirty, but discard a land card, deals 2 damage to any target. If it's a player, you get to draw 2 cards. If there's any more land in there, you get to do it over and over and over until you run out of lands in your hand. So that sounds like fun. Kira, Great Glass Spinner. Creatures you control have, whenever this creature becomes a target of a spell or ability for the first time, counter that spell or ability. Not a bad thing to protect Visionary. Chasm Skulker. What the fuck am I? Whenever you draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on it, and if it dies, you get to put that many 1/1 squid creatures into play. So just a little bit of a bonus for drawing so many cards. Diviner's Wand equips for free to a wizard, and whenever you draw a card, that wizard gets +1/+1 until end of turn. They can also draw cards, but unlikely. Zozu the Punisher. Whenever a land ETBs for anybody, deals 2 damage to that controller. So again, Anka Mishra, pretty cool in that regard. Angel's Trumpets. Attacking does not cause creatures to tap, and at the end of each player's turn, tap all untapped creatures he or she controls that did not attack this turn. Angel's Trumpet deals 1 damage to that player for each creature tapped this way. So it kind of forces some damage. I think I had some cards in here that would stop attacking me, maybe a crawl space or a propaganda, but we'll see. Spell shock. Whenever any player successfully casts a spell, it deals 2 damage to him or her. So if somebody's doing something, they're getting damage. Land's Edge. Any player may choose and discard a land card from his or her hand, and it deals 2 damage to target player of that player's choice. So it's kind of like the seismic assault, but it's Land's Edge. Anybody can discard a land card to deal 2 damage, but it has to be to a player of their choice. So fun. Ancient Ruins. During each player's upkeep, it deals 1 damage to that player for each artifact he or she controls. I love this in the red black Rowan deck. I can see it being amazing in here. It's going to force people to sacrifice their treasures or clues. I dig it. Gleeful Arsonist. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, it deals damage equal to its power to that player. So 1 has Undying, so if it dies, it comes back with a 1/1 counter on it. It would deal 2 damage. If I get any of those 1/1 counters on it, it could be game ending. I don't even know how to say this.
Can't even read.
But it's an artifact. It draws and discards a card on the tap. You can transform it, which will get you, when it taps, it adds X amount of mana for however many permanents you have in your graveyard. There's a lot of discarding that happens. This isn't a very like instant or sorcery based deck. It's much more of an enchantment thing and creature thing. So I think that'll do some work if I can flip it. Nerd Rage. It's an aura. When it ETBs, draw 2 cards, and then if you have no maximum hand size, and whenever this creature attacks, if you have 10 or more cards, it gets +10/+10. So works with that hand size thing going on. Ophidian Eye. That's an aura. Enchanted creature deals damage to an opponent. You may draw a card. Jace's Archivist. Blue, tap. Each player discards his or her hand, then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded this way. You know, it could be you, it could be me, but it could be a lot of cards being drawn. So that's probably why I was liking the idea of Scrawling Crawler. I don't know if I like it in here. I'll have to look at it when I'm in the drawing card. Windfall, kind of the same thing, just in a sorcery form. So I'll have to eye that up when I'm doing it. Wheel of Misfortune, you can discard a lot of cards. There is a lot of bonuses for discarding cards in this deck. So, and then it can also just get you back to 7 cards. Molten Psyche. Each player shuffles the cards from his or her hand to their library, then draws that many cards. And if you control 3 or more artifacts, this deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of cards that player has drawn this turn. So it is kind of like a Winds of Change with the damage, and that damage is really nice. Rael the Everwise. If you are discarding in a deck a lot, first time you discard a card, you get to draw that many cards for that turn. Also, it gets +1/+0 for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard. That won't be as relevant, but if you have a Merfolk Looter that draws discards, then you get to draw a card off of that, or the Faithless Looting, or if you're just discarding a card, or the Windfall. There's a lot going on with Rael being able to be good. Frantic Search, draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards, untap up to 3 lands. It's good. It's a crazy good card. Glint Horn Buccaneer, haste. Whenever you discard a card, this deals 1 damage to each opponent. And then if it's attacking, you can pay a red and a colorless to discard a card and draw a card. So that's one of those that you want to put like Curiosity or Ophidian Eye onto, because then you're drawing those cards. Crucible of Worlds, I'm going to be discarding lands, so might as well get them back from the yard. Descent into Avernus. Enchantment at the beginning of your upkeep, put 2 descent counters on Descent into Avernus. Then each player creates X treasure tokens, and Descent deals X damage to each player, where X is the number of descent counters on Descent into Avernus. This is also a really, really cool card. Goes great with the Runes of the Ancients. It forces people to use our Ancient Runes. These two go crazy together. But I liked a lot of that. I should Let me go through this real quick, see if there's anything weak in here. I think we're just going to have to look at the draw spells and see what we would want to keep. Nerd Rage. I like a lot of this. Chasm Skulker, I can see getting big. I like it in that regard. Protection. Bop, bop, bop. Let's look at the other ones that we've gone through just to say we want it or not it. Is it hot or not? So hopefully everybody has good, solid plans. I think Lore Broker was in there for the scrolling crawler, and I'm taking that out and everything else. So Lore Broker can be cut. So hopefully everybody has solid plans for Christmas. Hopefully it's going well. Hopefully it's going to be fun, and that's always the big thing. Me and Adam had our Smith Miss this weekend. Always great to get together and see them and having the kids play together. It's a lot of fun in that regard. So currency converter, I like that. Magnetic insight could be something worth getting rid of. Brainstorm, I did get rid of a lot of the Preordain and Ponder. I mean, those cards are crazy good. I love them. But in this one, I think I like the Faithless Looting and the other one. Well, that's where we're at this point. Way beyond. We're probably 2/3 done at this point. All right. Moving along quite quick. There's Mob Verdict. Sorcery. Each player secretly votes for another player, then those votes are revealed. For each vote an opponent received, Mob Verdict deals 2 damage to that player and each creature that player controls. For each vote you receive, draw a card. So worst case scenario, because if Visionary's out, nobody's going to want you to draw 6 cards plus. So they'll choose you. So you're going to draw, and then you get to hit one person. So you're going to be drawing 2 damage to each of their creatures. That's kind of a cool card when Visionary's out. I am thinking I'm going to try and avoid this card because it's a sorcery, unfortunately. I do really like the card in this deck. I think it's fun, but I think I'm going to get rid of it, unfortunately. Braylon, Sky Shark Rider. This has partner with Shabraz. Can't be in this deck, but whenever you discard a card, put a 1/1 counter on it, and Braylon deals 1 damage to each opponent. Also gives a shark trample. Doesn't matter. But basically, it's 1 damage. Putting 1/1 counters on it, not a bad deal. 20 Toad. Literally just put this in there and got it today. But your maximum hand size is 20. And whenever you attack with 20 or more creatures, put a 1/1 counter on 20 Toad and draw. 2 or more creatures, put a 1/1 counter and draw. Whenever 20 Toad attacks, you win the game if there are 20 or more counters on it or you have 20 or more cards in hand. So this is kind of one of those you win the game cards, and I don't know how many cards I'm actually going to be drawing. I think this would be a lot easier in a spell slinging deck. So with only thinking about it for like 20 minutes, I think I'm gonna cut it. But if I'm drawing and I have 20 cards in hand like consistently in my playtesting, I think this goes back. Earth. Whenever a player taps a non-basic land, it deals 1 damage to that player. It's gonna be sweet. It's gonna deal a lot of damage. Mana Barbs doesn't have to be a non-basic. Any land tapped for mana deals 1 damage to that land's controller. We have Chandra, Torch of Defiance. This is the +1. You get to exile a card, and if you don't play it, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. So drawing 6 cards potentially, gaining 2 red, it deals 4 damage to target creature. And then if you get the emblem, whenever you cast a spell, this emblem deals 5 damage to any target. So like this whole card is amazing in this deck. The worst part is the getting 2 red, which again, not bad in a red-blue deck. Neheb, Dread Horde Champion, 5/4 trample. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, you may discard any number of cards, and if you do, draw that many cards and add that many red until end of turn. You don't lose mana as steps and phases end. So this is a huge discard outlet, draw outlet, mana outlet in this deck for sure. Invasion of Kaldheim. I'm gonna get a drink. All right, Invasion of Kaldheim. It is a battle. When it ETBs, exile all cards from your hand, then draw that many cards until the end of your next turn. You may play cards exiled this way. This has 4 for the damage, but also on the backside, discard a land card. Pyre of the World Tree deals 2 damage to any target. Whenever you discard a land card, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. That's not a may. That's a problem. But I like it's on theme with Seismic Assault and Land's Edge. Is that it? But it's pretty cool in that regard. I don't know if I really like that part. Exile all cards from your hand. So it's like not bad. I don't know if I'm going to be able to flip it super easy. I might just cut it. I don't know what to do with battles. The battles are cool. I got a 1 or 2 using the Convoke one, and I'm using the Gobakon. Is that right? Something like that. It's white. So Surly Badgesaur, 4 mana, 3/3. Whenever you discard a creature card, put a 1/1 counter on it. Whenever you discard a land card, create a treasure. Whenever you discard a non-creature, non-land card, this fights. So you got a lot of discarding going on. I like it. Inner Fire, sorcery, add red to your mana pool for each card in your hand. That could be a lot, and it's on theme for sure. Defiler of Instinct, 4 mana, 4/4 for strike. You can, for any permanent red spell, you can pay 2 life instead of a red to reduce the cost, kind of. And then whenever you cast a red permanent spell, it deals 1 damage to any target, which is a little bit of draw. So it's a little bit of ramp, a little bit of damage and draw. So I kind of think I like it in here. Sword of War and Peace, pro red and white, +2/+2. And whenever it deals damage, you get to gain life for as many cards in your hand, so that should be a lot. And then they take damage for the amount of cards they have in their hand, which allows you to draw cards, all that kind of stuff. Venser's Journal, 5 mana artifact, no maximum hand size. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 1 life for each card in your hand. Again, should be very beneficial. Also vindicating why I was cutting Thought Vessel, so I'm okay with that. Psychosis Crawler, power toughness is for the amount of cards you have in your hand, and then whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses a life. Losing life is not damage, so you're not drawing off that, but that is okay. It's going to be a huge beater and also still draining them while you potentially aren't drawing yourself out. Because I think that's another way that people can win with this deck is like the Jace and Lab Man and stuff like that. Like you can definitely do that with this deck. Go super aggressive and self mill win. Vandablast, just destroying everybody else's artifacts. Bulwark, this one's kind of cool. Enchantment, during your upkeep, it deals 1 damage to target opponent for each card you have in hand, greater than the number of cards in that player's hand. So it could be a lot. Could be a lot. Chandra's Ignition, you do that with Niv Visionary in play. 5 damage to each other creature and opponent, and then you draw in 5, 10, 15. Probably doing some work there. Cavalier of Flame. The big thing is when it ETBs, discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards. Whenever it dies, it deals X damage to each opponent and each planeswalker they control, where X is the number of land cards in your graveyard. Seismic assaults, and that kind of stuff is happening. So should do some damage. Dream Halls to cast stuff for free. Everybody gets to do it, but 5 mana enchantment. Instead of paying the casting cost for a spell of any color, its caster may choose and discard a card that shares at least 1 other color with it. If the spell has X in its casting, X costs 0. So this is omniscience, but you have to discard a card of the same color that shares a color with it. So it's casting stuff for free. Surprise, omniscience. But I think I don't want to give people that chance of them, but I feel like I'm going to be able to cast a lot of spells. It is a discard part. A spell, instead of paying, its caster may choose and discard a card. So the discard part's kind of fun, but I it's always just so scary. So scary. Neheb the Eternal, afflict 3, 4, 6. At the beginning of your post combat main phase, add red for each one life your opponents have lost this turn. There's going to be damage lost. It's going to be a nice little bonus for you. Dragonhawk, Fates, Tempest, 5 mana, 5/5 flying. Whenever it enters or attacks, exile the top X cards of your deck, where X is the number of creatures you control with power 4 or greater. You may play those cards until your next end step, and at the beginning of your next end step, Dragonhawk deals 2 damage to each opponent for each of those cards that are still exiled. That's a mouthful. But potential to see more cards. It doesn't hit those draw triggers, but it does have the ability to deal damage if you can't cast them, and then you get to draw more cards with Visionary into play. The Watcher in the Water, 5 mana, 9/9 Kraken. When an ETB is tapped with 9 stun counters on it, whenever you draw a card during an opponent's turn, create a 1/1 blue tentacle creature token, and whenever a tentacle you control dies, untap up to 1 target Kraken and put a stun counter on up to 1 target non-land permanent. So essentially, when you're with Visionary, if you're drawing cards on opponents' turns, you're making these little 1/1s. If they block and die, you're going to keep something tapped and take one of the stun counters off that. It's kind of a cool little interaction. I like it in this deck quite a bit. Flame Blade Angel, 6 mana angel, 4/4 flying. Whenever a source an opponent controls deals damage to you or a permanent you control, you may have Flame Blade Angel deal 1 damage to that source's controller. So if somebody attacks you with 5 creatures, this will deal 5 damage back to them, whether you block them or if they deal you damage, or if they attack a planeswalker. Like, this card's going to do a lot of work. I really hope this makes the cut, but I'm liking it. Mind over matter from Boston, apparently. 2 mana, 4 blue enchantment. Choose and discard a card. Tap or untap target artifact, creature, or land. I think it's going to do a lot of work in this deck with all the cards that you got. Echoes of Eons. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their deck, then draws 7 cards. It also has flashback. Is the one card that might save my ass from like drawing too many cards. That's my hope. I don't know though. Genres Incinerator, 6/6 trample. The spell costs X less to cast, where X is the total amount of non-combat damage dealt to your opponent's this turn. And whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, Genres Incinerator deals that much damage to target creature or planeswalker that player controls. So potentially only 1 red for 6/6 trampler, and whenever non-combat damage in your drawing, you'll also deal that to a creature those people have. Chandra's Awakened Inferno. The spell can't be countered. A +2. Each opponent gets an emblem saying they get 1 damage during their upkeep. -3. It deals 3 damage to each non-elemental creature. Then you can -X it. It deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker. If a permanent dealt damage this way would die this turn, exile it instead. So essentially what this is for is to wipe the board or creating emblems. That's what that is for. This is just in case, but it's really going to do a lot. I think I like it. At 6 mana might put it over the top, like too expensive, but I got a pretty version and I kind of want to use it. Attempsis, all seeing, 6 mana, 4/5 flying. It has a draw discard effect with the mana, but whenever it deals damage to an opponent, doesn't even have to be combat damage. If I don't have a way, Chandra's Ignition, being able to deal damage to each opponent, but you may reveal your hand if cards with at least 6 different converted mana costs are revealed this way, that player loses the game. Um, Again, you should have a lot of cards in your hand, so this has the potential to just start killing off opponents. Pretty fun. Kozilek, the Great Distortion, 12/12 Menace. Whenever you cast a spell, if you have fewer cards than 7, you get to draw up to 7. And so either you're dying and drowning and somehow made it to 10 mana, you get to draw up to 7. Might rescue a little bit there, and then you get to discard a card with mana value X, counter target spell with mana value X. If you have a ton of cards in hand, you're gonna just control the game with this one. 2 more cards left. Conflagrate deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of targets. You got to discard this card. The flashback is red, discard X cards, and you get to deal X damage divided as you choose among any number of targets. Essentially, discard your hand and try and kill off a couple of players. That's kind of how I see it. And then the last one is Omniscience. You got a fat hand, play stuff for free. Why not? All right, let's kind of go through that a little bit. Let's see if there's anything. Omniscience might be too much, but I think we'll see what happens. Tempsis, Chandra, I already questioned that. And so is that really worth it? Probably not. Weirdly. Because it's just like 1/1/1. It's a forever thing, but I think we're gonna get rid of Chandra's Awakened Inferno. Ugh. I don't want to do that. Chandra's Incinerator, Echoes of Eons. Mind Over Matter, Flame Blade, The Watcher in the Water, Dragonhawk, Neheb, Cavalier, Chandra's Ignition, Bulwark. Bulwark feels like it's going to do a lot of damage. Vandal Blast is maybe just too easy. Psychosis Crawler, Adventure's Journal. It's just gaining life. That's all it's doing. Defiler of Instincts. Might be too much for the mana. We'll see what that is. Inner Flame is solid ritual in this deck. Surly Badgesaur, Neheb, Chandra. I like this Chandra a lot in this deck. I think that's doing some work. Barbs, Earth, Braylon. I don't think I have as many cards as I thought that were doing surrounding damage. So if that's the case, I want to get rid of Curiosity, Ophidian Eye, stuff like that, of that ilk. If I only have like 2 in here, if that's what it's doing. Yeah. Might only be those 2. All right. Let's see. Sip, not too bad. 42 minutes. We didn't get a lot of cuts, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Down in the 90 now. I think I want to say I had like 105 cards in there. All right, we're going to put this into like mana, draw, yada, yada. So mana, this is going to be kind of a game ender. This is probably protection for the counter spells. There we go. We'll call that a game ender over there. That is removal. Draw. I don't ever know where to put this card either. With the discard, tapping down creatures, we'll call that. This I consider a protection. People won't attack you with that. I don't know what to call that one either. Miscellaneous. We'll go with that. Dragonhawk, we will consider that card advantage. This is a ritual. This is a wheel of sorts. This is damage. Bulwark is just damage. That's going to be different. Removal. That is also just life loss. Oh, life gain for that Fencer's Journal. Sword of War and Peace is life gain. Defiler of Instinct, I consider that. Mana. Inner Fire's mana. Surly Badgesaur is removal or treasures. Just like a nice value thing. I think I put it there. I don't like it. But Neheb is a little bit of both, so we'll put that way off to the side. Chandra, Torch of Defiance, also way off to the side. That's doing card advantage and has a potential for mana. Damage. Braylon is also damage going bigger. Descent is mana. Crucible is mana. Glint Horn There's a little bit of draw discard. We'll be happy with that. Draw discard. That's a draw. Molten Psyche. Wheel of Misfortune. Windfall. Jace's Archivist. Ophidian Eye. Nerd Rage is draw. Loot. Gleeful Arsonist is just a damage. Same thing with Ancient Ruins and Land's Edge. And Spell Shock. Angel's Trumpet. What is that doing? It's forcing them to attack. It looks like I did cut Propaganda and Crawl Space, so it's just damage at this point. So Zozu, Diviner's Wand is maybe this is the miscellaneous. That'll be bonus draw. How about that? Chasm Skulker. Kira is protection. Seismic Assault is any target, so that can be anywhere. So is that one. That could be removal or damage. This is damage or removal. Same thing here. Mana with the Signet. There we go. The looting is right there. We'll consider that a bonus with the draw. That's everything. Damage is that is bonus to the draw. Same thing, bonus with the draw. Imperial Plate. Protection. Manas, draws. Firestorm is there. Removal, that's creature player, so that can be. Dust Corona. I got a lot going on in here. I don't really care about Visionary. It's going to be a dead card in hand quite a bit, so let's cut it. Ivory Towers for that life gain, and then Deflection Swap, Misdirection, Bend Bolt are the protection. Curiosity is draw, Sigil of Sleep, and then Mind Bomb. What is that? Damage? We'll just consider that damage. And then Library of Lang is controlling what's going on. I don't know where to put that. That's a true miscellaneous. We'll just put that in the game winner, I guess. I don't know. Let's see here. Remember, if you're building this and you're like, oh, I went this route, just put in the comments. I'd love to see it. I'll be honest, I don't normally check, but Adam tells me. And then I go. That's generally how it works. All right. Life gain. We have 3 cards in here. Ivory Tower is going to gain me a lot of money. Or life, not money. Sword of War and Peace for sure. And then Vencer's Journal. I like all 3 of these pieces. If I'm going to have life gain in there, I like all 3 of them. We'll go with that. The drawing bonuses. We have Imperium Plate, which is also tied with Diviner's Wand for each card in your hand. This one's nice because that's a forever thing. Each card in your hand, +1/+1, not a bad deal. Diviner's Wand is for as many cards as you've drawn this turn. And then Prof's, whatever. Similar deal. So all 3 of these are kind of the same. This I can switch stuff around. This is just for that turn. And this is for everything. I do like all 3 of them. I'm okay with that. And then these are I'm gonna seize. I think I like I'm gonna seize better than Chasm Skulker. Even though I think both of them are gonna be really, really good. I think I'd rather have the Watcher in the Water over a Chasm Skulker. Let's cut Skulker. I like Duelist in the Mine, Ominous Seize. At this point, that's what I'm liking. Let's get rid of the game winners. I think Library Lang's gonna be really, really sweet in here. Firestorm, Conflagrate, and Attempsis. 1, 2, 3. Those are staying in. Attempsis. I mean, it's 6 mana, 4/5 flying. It's great with Chandra's Ignition. If it gets through, it can defeat an opponent just on that one hit. Is that worth a spot? I really hate this part. Draw 2, discard 1 for 3 mana on a 6 mana 4/5 flying. If it had vigilance, maybe I'd be happy about that. Um, hmm, I think for now I'm gonna cut that. I think I like some of the other higher CMCs. Let's look at the protection. Bolt bend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so I'm cool with these 3, the redirections, well, 4 redirections. Boots and Greaves to stop any, and Kira. Whenever this creature becomes so that's for creatures. Kira's really fucking beat up. Um, I don't have a lot of equipment, a handful for sure. And so that would counter that equipability if you're unfamiliar. And I don't have a lot of auras. I do have a few here with curiosity and stuff like that. But like I said, I am fairly certain that I don't have a lot of creatures that are dealing that's to an opponent, opponent. I mean, it'll probably draw you a bunch of cards and bounce some stuff, but to an opponent, that one's to everything. Yeah, so really I just have like one that's dealing damage to everything. I don't know if I love those cards. Because I have Glinthorn. Ew. Dragonhawk, I guess, deals the damage. So there's like 3. Not a lot. So I'm not sure. Let's see here. Let's see if I can find one. Just creatures that deal damage. 1, 2. Oh shit. That's a sorcery. I think I gotta get rid of that. God darn it. That'd be a cool one. I wanted that in there. But all right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 5, 6. 7. One time, I wouldn't consider that. But 8. There shouldn't really be anything in here. 9. All right. Maybe we'll get there. But I like the idea of Kozilek and Flameblade Angel at this point, and maybe I'm willing to cut Kira. Kira, I like it, but it does tend to get cut for me a lot, so I don't know if it's really worth the thought at this point. Forever cut. All right, some damages. Let's check them out. Scalding Viper, I like that. I like the Ankh. I like Eidolon with Pyrostatic Pillars. Zozu for sure. Let's put Angel's Trumpet in the back. I like the casting of Spell Shock, very similar to Eidolon and Pillar. Land's Edge works with getting lands in there. Ancient Ruins is just going to do a lot of damage. Gleeful Arsonist is going to deal 1/1/1. Some of these boosts will be nice and put counters on it. Braylon, that should do some work. A little worried about the 4 mana, like on the competition, but for now I'll keep it. And then when we go through the CMC again afterwards, mana barbs, yeah, mana barbs and burning earth feel like they are auto includes. Psychosis crawler seems really nice in here. All right, bulwark. I feel like here's how I see it. It's 5 mana enchantment, and let's say it deals like 4 damage. You draw 4 cards. And then the next turn, you're able to do like 8 damage, draw 8 cards. And then if you have another turn, it's dealing 16 and you draw on 16, like it only gets bigger. You know, there's discarding and playing spells and stuff like that. Um, but that seems nice, but I think I'm going to want to keep hmm, Bulwark seems really cool. Angel's Trumpet forces people to attack essentially, or they're going to be taking damage. Gives everything. The problem that always with this card is that it gives everything vigilance. I don't like that in this regard. I think I think I'm going to cut both of these. Unfortunately, sad. Doesn't mean they can't work their way in, but so I like what's going on here. The cool thing about, like, Land's Edge and Seismic Assault is you're just gonna draw so many land that it doesn't matter, and so discarding those cards for damage is gonna be great. Let's look at some of this removal. Um, let's see here. Sigil of Sleep, is that gonna be worth it? I mean, it could force people to play more spells, so that Shock and Eidolon and Pillar and all of that, but more than likely, I'm gonna be let's cut Sigil of Sleep. It is kind of annoying. It feels weirdly like a graved pact or grave pact. Like you just sacrifice a creature and then everybody has to get rid of something. And so that's kind of what this feels like, just weirdly. I know it's not a good comparison. Let's stop there. Okay. Let's cut Sigil of Sleep. It's a great card though. Molten Vortex, more of that discarding the land thing. If you get one or the other, you're discarding stuff. So that's where we're at. Iron Craig Pyromancer. I think that's going to be solid here. Same thing with Words of War. Auntie Blight's going to get huge. Seismic Assault for sure. Vandal Blast. This is the only removal for artifacts in the deck. That sounds right. Chandra's Ignition should do some work. Mind Over Matter. Plenty of discard there. Should do some good work. Chandra's Incinerator should get rid of plenty of creatures. That's kind of the removal bit. Um, and I think I'm okay with that for now. Let's look at our manas. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There isn't much here that I want to cut. Treasures, Soul Ring, Bauble, Steamkin, Ruby Medallion. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, Crucible of Worlds is going to be nice. Descent for the treasures. Surly, Inner Fire should get some work in. Defile Instinct, plenty of red permanent spells. Neheb should do a lot. Omniscience, if I get there. I mean, 8, 9, 10. I don't normally go over like 8 CMC very much. And this one, I think I'm going to go 10 with Kozilek and Omniscience. Both of those seem sus at best, but I kind of like them both as an idea in here. But maybe we're cutting Omniscience. I'm okay with that as well. Just having a fat hand and being able to discard cards and then keeping Kozilek around for a bit more protection. I probably like that idea a bit better. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15. I don't want to go lower anyway. And then we also have Artist Talent, Genre, Torch of Defiance, and Neheb. Probably most excited about that. Neheb next. Artist Talent is just nice and cheap and getting to see more cards. I like all those. All right. Next one, Curiosity. I'm going to put this into sections a little bit. Sensei's Top, similar to Brainstorm. Let's go with the loots. Doot. We'll have the creatures over here. Fitting an eye on that. We have some looting. Bop. Bop. That's on that spell. We're already off. That is there. And we can probably... That's not really a discard, but probably feels more like a brainstorm, if anything. These two are similar. I like how that works with the discard. I like Dragonhawk. Okay. So this is where we're at. I like Dragonhawk, Fate's Tempest. I like Cavalier. I think I'm going to cut Jace's Activist. We just don't need to be drawing that many cards. I'm probably all right with Motlantali. Ugh. The Great Door. I'll consider it the Great Door. Do you think they did that? They give it some name that I can't pronounce. They're specifically me, and then give me that, the Great Door, and then that's what I can say. Ugh. All right, then tap add X mana of any one color, where X is the number of permanent cards in your graveyard. Plenty of discarding stuff. Plenty of permanents. 1, 2, 3, 4. At this point, I like these 4. I don't have a lot of instant speed discards, so I don't know if I like Rael at this point. We could probably get rid of it, especially since it doesn't get the boost. Glinthorn Buccaneer is going to deal a lot of damage. But again, I do think I don't have a lot there, so I think Curiosity still has some work. There's enough options there, but Ophidian Eye at the 3 mana probably is not worth it. Curiosity, I think we keep at this point. I like both of these, Nerd Rage and Wizard Class. They care about your hand size, and nobody's compensating here. I like these big bad boys that can deal some damage. They're looting or not. This can also give it a nice big boost. So let's try and keep these at this point. Molten Psyche deals some damage. Also, Wheel of Misfortune does some damage. So I like those for that aspect of it. I think we got rid of Jace's Archivist, so let's get rid of Windfall as well. I don't think we want that. Echoes of Eons is just there to be able to shuffle the graveyard and hand and just like kind of reset and make sure that we don't kill ourselves. I like 1, 2, maybe Magmatic Insight can go away. Do we keep Frantic Search? I mean, boop, boom. I think Insight can go away. Normally, if I'm playing that, I want to be getting a land, not discarding a land. I think we go with those. I mean, the big thing about top in this kind of deck is it's going to get me there. And then once it gets me there, I don't care about it. And that happens in some decks, but I still really like top. Is Brainstorm worth it? Probably. Let's go with Brainstorm and cut Frantic Search. Just, we have, let's see how many discard outlets we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'll have at least one in the land with 12. So that's not too bad. So many cards we have at this point. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 30. 30. 17. So we're at 77. That's not too bad. 10 more cuts. Let's cut it up or bring it into card types, just so that we know what's what. What are we most heavy on? Normally get rid of the creatures first anyway. Seems like we have enough artifacts and enchantments here. Not displeased by that. They just sit around and gain value. Definitely thinner on the creatures at this point. We'll see at the end, though. You think another thought that I'm having with a lot of the creatures that are dealing damage, and then I was thinking Curiosity and Sigil of Sleep, maybe Lifelink could gain some life. Maybe it doesn't matter. Sorceries. Yeah, maybe it doesn't. It probably doesn't matter. Enchantment, sorcery. Bop, bop, bop. Pretty even distribution, honestly. I really like the idea of Mind Bomb. So if you're building a Spellslinger version, you got to be adding in Mind Bomb, in my opinion. Where is that? Soup. That one. Add that one into your Spellslinging one. I think that'll be a lot of fun. That's one not used a whole ton. All right. Let's see here. The sorceries. We have one Planeswalker. I like that. Sorcery is ritual, loot. We have kill all creatures, kill all artifacts. And then I already said, like, I don't want to be spell slinging, but at the end of it, I think this just wins me the game. This and not flame break, but the other one, instant speed. So what I'm a little worried about, I like Interfire, Conflagrate, Chandra's, and Vandal Blast. So the question ends up being, I like these to get me through pretty quick into cards that I like or don't like, but these are what? Wheel of Misfortune is just going to deal, one player damage. This will deal everybody damage more than likely. Echoes of Eons will save my life. I think that goes in. Should have done a count on how many draw cards I have in there. Molten Psyche and Wheel of Misfortune. I don't think I need a Wheel of Misfortune or Molten Psyche. I think I cut them both. Eee. Okay. We're okay with that. We can do that. Instant speed. I like Brainstorm, Firestorm, Bolt Bend, Misdirection, and Deflection SWAT. I think all of that is pretty good. Just keeping Visionary alive if I have to. Enchantments. Descent into Avernus is dealing damage. This can add on to the damage. This is drawing me some cards. That's a true card draw. Nerd Rage and Wizard Class are sweet damage. All right, Land's Edge, Ancient Ruins. I wish we were in green a little bit to whereas I can like Life from the Loam lands back to my hand, but I'm sure that's a deck. That's a Boborgamos deck, I'm sure. Ancient Ruins, Mana Barbs, Burning Earth, Molten Vortex. It feels boring, I think, but in the end, if I just have that, I'm going to have plenty of cards to be able to discard. Words of War. The world is a vampire. Seismic Assault. Mind over matter. I do like that one too. There is like Blue, discard as many cards as you want, return as many creatures back to their hand. That's a sorcery. That I was tempted to have this in here, but I think at the end of the day, I mean, there's a lot of discard there going on. Kind of like them both, but I like that. Ominous Seas, I'm going to say let's cut that for now. Cut it for now. All right. Artifacts, Crucible, yes. And then one, two, three, four. I'm gonna be honest, this one doesn't always feel good when I play it at 3 mana. I really like the 2 mana spot for looting. Um, so let's think of that. Like, I think that's what we're doing. We'll cut that. I probably don't care about that loot anyway. We have a handful of it. We got the good cheap spells and we have the good creatures that'll do it. Top boots, Onk. Sword of War and Peace is just there to gain a bunch of life. Fencers, Ruby, Wayfarer's Bauble, Soul Ring, Currency Converter. That makes sense to me. Ivory Tower just should be gaining a ton of life. Empirical Plate, Wand, Greaves. Okay, how does this work? The discarding could be nice. Like that would save me with the windfall and everything. Just discard everything and then redraw it into my hand and do that a couple times with the Archivist. But this is the only card that's doing that with Library Lang. I could force them to draw out. Is that what we're saying? Mind over matter, discard a card, untap that in a blue. Bump bump. Bump 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 bum. But we got rid of Jason's Archivist. We got rid of Windfall. We got rid of do we just because that's the thing, right? If I can just discard to the top of the deck, then I may or may not draw out um shoot. I think there's a sweet card in here, but I think I'm gonna cut it for now. Okay. All right. Calm down. Okay. Last bit. Creatures. All right. Surly Banjosaur. Um it's doing enough. Like I said earlier, I did have like a +1/+1 counter theme going on too. Like there was like the Ozolith, there was Arcbound Crusher and stuff like that. Um and this might be if I was going that route, I think that'd be really tough, by the way. But if I was going that route, this would be a lot bigger. And then try and get counters on to other creatures and end the game that way. Whenever you discard a land card, create a treasure. Whenever you discard a non-creature on land card. Um that's cuttable. Let's say that's cuttable. I did have that in my mana production aspect, but it is what it is. Neheb for sure. I think I like Defiler at this point. Neheb makes sense. 2, 3. I like Glinthorn Buccaneer a bit. A bit. I got a lot of discard stuff going on. Discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards. And then when it dies, it deals X damage to each opponent, where each planeswalker they control, where X is the number of land cards in your graveyard. 6/5 that can fire breathe all of your creatures for 2 mana. Creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain haste. Yeah, yeah, I like that. I like that. I get to look at 1, 2, maybe 3 cards, and for each one of them that I don't cast, it's going to deal 2, 4, 6 damage. to each opponent, 6, 12, 18, drawing that many cards potentially. Seems like a high-end flyer here. I like it. Scalding Viper is gonna do some work, Flameblade Angel. I still like Kozilek, Eidolon, Zozu. Braylon is a bit of a question. So if I still had like Jace's Archivist, I got rid of everything, right? All of those big discards. It's still not everything. There's a couple of big discards out there. I still think I like Braylon. It just feels like a beater. It feels a bit like the Surly Badgesaur. Um, Still sticking around from the +1/+1 idea, counter idea, +1 counters. There we go. But it does deal damage, and I do like that aspect. I might have to see how many discard outlets there actually are directly after that. Let's leave that right here. Gleeful Arsonist. That is a wizard. That'll be nice. Psychosis Crawler, Ironcrag, Pyromancer. Dealing damage to myself, dealing damage to the opponents, getting some red mana that way. Duelist of the Mind, Spell Sky. We'll have to see how much damage I'm actually doing before the attack with Duelist of the Mind, but I think that's probably worth it. Okay. Potential discarding. Let's just take a look, see. How many cards? That is a discard. Pop. I'll have Gyre Reach Sanitarium in here as well. All right. That's a good point. Let's find cards that care about discarding. And things that actually discard. Okay. I want to find out how many red spells I have in here later too. So let's go. As a draw discard. Discard outlet. Bop, bop. All right. I have 3 cards caring about discarding. I have damage, and treasures. We have I think the 2 huge discarding part, I kind of like. No, that's fine. That's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Some other big ones that can happen. So Mind Over Matter is a big one if that lands. That's a huge chunk right there. So is Cavalier Flame. So those are like bunches of damage that you can do. Same thing with Seismic Assault, but so if I'm doing Glinthorn, I'm okay with Braylon. If I cut this, that, vice versa, maybe. And then maybe the whole thing just crumbles. I don't think so. But all right. Let's see here. We're in hour 20. Still have a handful of cards to cut. I could probably. I'm going to go through CMC here, and then I'm going to go through what they're doing, and then I'll be done. All right. But also looking through the red cards, and let's see how many red cards we actually will have it affect. I think Ruby Metallion is just kind of going to be in. I think it's gonna do some good work. And if I'm doing Ruby Medallion, that's why I got the that other dude that can deal the damage, pay 2 life, stuff like that. Yeah, that one. There you go. Defiler. Half the deck is red. Almost exactly. All right. That's cool. All right. Let's go with CMC at this point. 6, 1. One, 5. 1, 2s, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2s. 4, 5, 6. I feel like I'm in the higher CMC range, which is not super normal from me, but that'll be all right. That'll be reduced some, but 3, 4s, 3. That'll just be a 1. 3. That's a 5er. 2, 3. One and a 4, 5, 4, 3. Pretty even. Yeah. Lots of ones, which I like seeing. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's see here. 15. Yep, fine with that. 15. 5. Not displeased with any of that. I'm not targeting anybody in this deck. I think it's a nice big beater. 35. All right. Damage, damage, damage. Ancient Ruins. I like the Spell Shock. Neheb. Braylon. I think I'm going to put Surly Badgestar back in. Just another benefit to having discarding cards, but also adds the treasures. I knew I was at 15 for mana. I don't want to go much lower than that. I don't want to go any lower than that. So I'm going to add it back in. We don't have any official count at this point, so we'll figure that out after this. I like Chandra, Burning Barbs, Defiler of Instinct. That's another one I'm not cutting just because of the mana part. You pay 2 life, it's not damage. Cast a red permanent spell, deals 1 damage to any target. Yeah. 5s. Let's see here. Cavalier of Flames. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I had to get rid of anything, it's probably the Watcher in the Water. I don't want to, but I think that's what's going to happen. Unfortunately. Give me Watcher in the Water can go. Bummer. But I think I like these other cards a bit better. They're more on theme with like damage and drawing and discarding. That's creating tokens, which might be nice, but Dragonhawk, Yeah. Flameblade Angel for sure. Mind over Matter, Echo of Eons. Like the only like Mind over Matter, I think it's going to work really well. Technically, it's not really on theme, but it's going to be nice to for the ramp. It's discard a card, tap or untap target artifact, creature, or land. Like this, it's going to do a lot of work for me. I think in that regard, like discard a card, draw a card to discard a card with any of those looters, or yeah, I think it's going to do some good work. Untap a land, and then really we're just at the high end is Conflagrate, which we're hoping to discard, and then Kozilek. That's our big beater at the end that can kind of control the game. That's where we're at. All right, let's see. We'll go with what they're doing and then call it a night. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 22. 36. 56. 71. 71. I mean, I'll probably try and run 35 land in here. Haven't picked them out quite yet, but if that's the case, we have 6 cuts. So there we go. We have kind of the game winners there. We know that's Conflagrate is up there as well. All right. 2 damage to any target. Protection, draw a discard. That is there for the treasures. That is gaining life. Manas, draws. That's over there. That is damage. Mana. I mean, this is a draw discard. I should keep that over there. This is just for the drawing, and I guess that's the other thing. Watcher in the Water is kind of similar to this. This will get real nice and big. I don't have any targeting really in this deck. Duelist of the Mind probably can get cut. Ugh. Unfortunate, but all right. Protection. Let's get bigger on the draw. Protection, damage. Mana. And we'll honestly, there's more damage than anything, but there is the discard draw aspect of it. So, all right. Damage, that only goes to a player. That is mana. Can be to a creature. Bop, bop. The nice thing is, so like it's a wizard, you draw a couple cards on their turn. This goes up to like a 4 or 5. They cast a signet, take 4 damage. They won't be drawing, or they won't be casting non-spell permanents at that point. Like they're going to do some work, or Imperial Plates in play. Like it's going to be a great card in here. We'll consider that. There, that's that. That is a damage. Ramp, anything. Bop, bop. Yeah. That is a lot of mana. That's a lot of draw. Everybody taken. Removal. This one I say like stops people from attacking you. Echoes. That is a protection one, even though it can draw me stuff. And Mind over Matter probably could just be considered a ramp card. Not a card that I don't like that explanation. We'll put it in the versatility utility. All right. These 2 cards care about card drawing and hand size. Those are the only 2. We're dope with that. And then these 2 can do a lot of damage with discarding a lot of cards. We're good with that. We don't have a lot of cards that are doing that, but they'll, these 2 will double up with Braylon or the Minotaur, discarding a bunch of cards, more than 1 damage. Gaining life, we have 3 cards in here with Sword of War and Peace, Fencer's Journal, and Ivory Tower. I think I like where that's at. We cut Bulwark. You know, Vince's Journal and Ivory Tower kind of in that same range. We did I like Sword of War and Peace because it does the damage. I still want to gain life, but it might be worth just cutting. Ugh. These are okay. Sword of War and Peace. I've never said this before, but it has to be in this deck. This version. Ivory Tower, Vince's Journal, no maximum hand size. Ivory Tower. I think both of these go. Ooh. Yeah. Yeah, I think they both get cut at this point. Psychosis Crawler, Burning Earth, Mana Barbs, Brawlin, Gleeful Arsonist, Zozu, Spell Shock, Ancient Ruins, Land's Edge, Ankh of Mishra. Maybe the discard thing. I think I can keep Land's Edge and maybe get rid of Molten Whatnot. That could be something. Land's Edge, just be happy with that. Ankh, Scalding Viper, turn target non-land. Eidolon, Pyrostatic Pillar. Yeah, I like all of those there. And then what did I just say? Molten Vortex can just get discarded. I don't know if I really like that aspect of having to pay the red. I'll just be happy with that. Chandra's Incinerator, Vandal Blast, Ignition, Auntie Blight's going to get big. Iron Craig Pyromancer does a bolt probably every turn after a while. I'm okay with that. Draw your second card each turn. War of Worlds will do a little play. Seismic Assault. I like what's going on there. Kozilek. I think I'm liking that quite a bit. Flame Break Angel. Flame Blade Angel will do some work. Swiftfoot, Lightning Greaves, Spell Skite. And then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I like 1, 2, 3, 4. The question is do I like these three? I like the free spell, and the free. Let's get rid of Bolt Bend. Okay. The drawing is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 cards with the draw discard or just drawing on them, card advantage. There's 15. I don't really want to mess with it too much. I don't want to go too much below it. We have Artist Talent, Neheb, Chandra, Mind Over Matter. Mind Over Matter is going to be able to untap rocks and also untap my looters, and that'll be nice. That'll gain a lot of kind of value for me throughout a game. And also it can tap down. It is very versatile, but I think I like that in that regard. Chandra's going to be fantastic. Artist Talent's going to be really good. All right, let's reread Dreadhorde Champion. But 4 mana, 5/4 trample. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, you may discard any number of cards, and then you get to draw that many cards and add that much red mana until end of turn. You don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. Yeah, that seems like it's what my deck wants to be doing. And then the last bit of ramp. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15. It's kind of where we're at. So I think I needed to cut 6, and we cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We might have one more cut in there that's needed or whatnot. So that's just going to be the night, I think. Thanks for anybody that's watching or joined. Appreciate everything. Check out the Commander Smiths every week. We're going to start up again. We're drinking next week. Also, go and check out the 1 mana, the 1 drop tournament that we got going on. It should be on our YouTube page. We're down to Adam, I think, called the final 4 today. So we're going on to the championship. I don't even know what the championship is. because it's just happened, and I have not talked with Adam since then. But go check that out. I think it's Bop versus Skull Clamp. I think that's what it is. Those are the best two voted. So voice your opinion, and let's see what it is. Hopefully everything's going well. Have a happy holidays and take care. Bye.